The samurai understood something about the mind that science only recently confirmed. Discomfort is not your enemy. The instinct to escape it is. Think about your own day. You reach for your phone before your feet touch the floor. You fill every silence, every line, every empty minute with noise. When was the last time you sat alone with your own thoughts for even 2 minutes? If you cannot remember, you are not broken. You have simply lost the use of a muscle you forgot you had. Researchers once placed people alone in a bare room for 15 minutes. No phone, no book, nothing but their own mind. They were given one option, a button that delivered a small electric shock. 2/3 of them chose to shock themselves rather than sit quietly with their thoughts. Read that again. Most people would rather feel pain than feel boredom. That is what years of a frictionless life does to a person. We abandon anything that takes time. We change our goals every Monday and bury them by Friday. This is the story of a man named Daniel. He was 27 and carried a problem he could not name. The feeling of always beginning and never arriving. He had drifted through school, through jobs he left after a few months, through projects that died the week after they started. Every Monday he woke with the energy of someone about to change his life. Every Friday that project had quietly stopped breathing. And the worst part was that he saw himself doing it, again and again. There was never a quiet moment in Daniel's life. The coffee line, the elevator, the 3 minutes before sleep, all of it filled with the screen. And whenever silence arrived by accident, a nameless anxiety rose in his chest, a sense that he should be doing something, consuming something, anything but this. He did not know that the anxiety had a name. He did not know it was the exact muscle he most needed to train. So he kept feeding it, and it kept growing weaker. The same pattern ruled his relationships. The first 2 months were always wonderful, full of discovery and ease. But the moment things asked for real effort, when the novelty faded and routine set in, his interest quietly went cold. There were no fights. He simply withdrew, answered slower, showed up less, until the other person gave up first. He called it incompatibility. He never called it by its real name. One Sunday he lay staring at the ceiling for 40 minutes, not sad, just empty, paralyzed by a cause he could not find. 2 weeks later, a chair broke. The back leg simply gave way. Instead of ordering a new one online as he always would, for a reason he could not explain, Daniel set out to have it repaired. 3 streets away stood a small woodworking shop, the kind you pass 1,000 times without seeing. No sign, no screen in the window, just an aged wooden door and the smell of sawdust drifting onto the pavement. He pushed it open and stepped inside. Behind the bench stood a man of about 60, named Kenji. Upright, unhurried, shaping a length of oak with a hand plane. No music, no phone on the workbench, nothing pulling at his attention. He did not look like a craftsman so much as a man who had decided long ago to do one thing and to do it completely. Daniel set the chair down, and instead of leaving, he stayed, watching the hands, watching a quality of presence he could not name, but recognized as something missing in himself. Daniel heard himself ask a question he had not planned. "Do you teach?" Kenji stopped the plane and looked at him. "What do you want to learn?" "To work with my hands," Daniel said. "To make something real." Kenji returned to the wood. Saturday, 7 in the morning. Daniel left without quite understanding what he had done. He had just volunteered to work for free, the same impulsive beginning he always made. The difference, he would soon learn, was that this time, someone would not let him quit easily. Daniel arrived at 6:58 on Saturday. Kenji was already there, coffee made, an oak board waiting on the counter. He placed a sheet of coarse sandpaper in Daniel's hand. "Sand this until it is smooth." Daniel looked at the board, looked at the paper. That's it. For the first 10 minutes there was something almost meditative in it. Then the enthusiasm drained away. His arm tired, the wood resisted, and the surface looked exactly the same as when he started. After 40 minutes, he set the paper down. "Maybe this isn't really what I'm looking for," he said. Maybe I should try something with the power tools instead. Kenji did not look up. It took me 3 years to learn to sand properly. What exactly did you expect to learn today? There was no judgment in it, no sarcasm, only the fact laid bare. For the first time in his adult life, someone had named his pattern with surgical precision. You want to leave because it did not work right away. Daniel picked the sandpaper back up. He stayed another hour. The board still was not even, but he had not left. At the end of the day, Kenji glanced at the work, offering neither praise nor criticism. Tomorrow will be better. Daniel walked home with sawdust on his arms and that one question hammering in his skull. What did you expect to learn today? He lay awake counting the projects he had abandoned at exactly this point, the moment enthusiasm dies and real effort begins. Here is what was happening inside him. When you feel discomfort, an ancient part of the brain, the amygdala, fires an alarm built to save your ancestors from predators and starvation. But it cannot tell the difference between real danger and useful difficulty. The blank page, the cold gym, the hard conversation, all of it reads as threat. Flee now, and relief is always one tap away. Each easy escape teaches the brain that running works. The muscle of persistence, like any muscle, wastes away from disuse. Weeks passed. The board grew even. Then came a simple joint, then a small box. Kenji never made it easy, and never explained before it was needed. And during the week, Daniel began to notice, with painful clarity, how often he fled tiny discomforts. The headphones jammed in before he even sat on the train. The phone reached for in a 3-minute wait. The show that played automatically when he should have been thinking. It was not a decision. It was a reflex he was only now learning to see. One Saturday, a piece he had worked on for 2 sessions snapped under too much pressure. He threw down the paper. I wasn't made for this. Kenji set aside the broken wood and for the first time spoke of his own father, who had risen at 4 every morning for 41 years, not because he loved it, but because the work needed doing, and the discomfort of doing it was simply the price of the life he had chosen. Then Kenji said a word Daniel had never heard. Shugyo, Kenji said. Intentional hardship. The samurai practiced it not to punish themselves, but to forge themselves. You do not run from the fire to avoid the burn. You stand close enough to learn its temperature. The discomfort is not the problem. Your relationship with the discomfort is. Science gives this its own name. When you choose difficulty on purpose, in small repeated doses, the reasoning part of the brain slowly learns to override the alarm. The signal still fires, but the message changes from flee to I can cross this. In the 4th month, Kenji set a challenge. Choose one thing. Do it for 30 days without stopping. Daniel reached for something grand, the gym, an early alarm. Smaller, Kenji said before he finished. Smaller than you think you need. So Daniel chose to write a single sentence in a journal each night. It felt absurd. It still felt absurd on the 5th day. But on the 10th day, he realized it was the first time in his adult life he had done the same thing 10 days in a row. By the 15th day, the sentences had grown into paragraphs on their own, with no extra effort. The habit had made the space, and the content filled it. Kenji called this Kaizen, continuous improvement. Not a single heroic transformation, but a microscopic step, repeated until it becomes irreversible. 1% better each day is not 1% better in a year. It compounds into something many times greater. But it is not only growth, Kenji said. Every promise you kept to yourself rebuilds the trust you broke with every project you abandoned. 2 months later, Daniel was 2 days from quitting his job. The reasons were the same as always. The work had grown hard, the boss was demanding, the shine was gone. He told Kenji, half hoping for approval. Kenji asked only one thing. Did these problems exist 6 months ago? Yes. 3 months ago? Yes. Then it is not the job that changed. He set down the plane and looked at Daniel directly. There is a word, Kensho, to see your own nature, not the problem out there, but the pattern within. When you leave, Kenji said, it is not the job you leave behind. It is the discomfort, and the discomfort travels with you. The next place will feel different for a few months, then the same feeling returns, and you run again. Psychologists call this experiential avoidance. Whatever you flee from grows, because every escape teaches the brain that the feeling was unbearable. There is even an illusion of new beginnings, the lie that a new city or job will make you a different person, but the same person always arrives. Daniel did not send the resignation. For the first time, he had asked the right question and found an uncomfortable answer. He was not stuck at work. He was stuck, and the work was only the latest mirror. In every abandoned project, every cooled relationship, the outer details changed, but the inner structure never did. The moment the easy part ended, something in him found a reason to leave. So he stayed and crossed the valley, that long stretch where enthusiasm is gone, mastery has not arrived. Months later, Daniel finished the most demanding box he had ever built. Perfect joints, a flawless surface. He felt real pride and waited for Kenji to smile. Kenji studied it, then said one last word. Zanshin, the attention that remains after the act. The archer does not drop the bow the instant the arrow flies. He holds his posture until it strikes. You are stronger now than when you arrived, Kenji said. And that is exactly the most dangerous moment of all. Daniel learned why a week later, when he skipped the shop once, then skipped his journal, then avoided a hard conversation. In 72 hours, the muscle he had spent months building began to soften. What you stop doing, the brain quietly undoes. Victory itself is a trap, because after a win, the mind craves rest and the old escape. So he returned and kept his posture after the arrow. He never became a different man. The urge to flee still came. He simply built, brick by brick, the power to watch that urge without obeying it. So ask yourself tonight, what discomfort will you stop running from, starting now?